This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Welcome back to another edition of Real Answers, a regular Wednesday feature during the Family Life Noon Report, where we discuss the issues that matter to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Welcome back again, Chris.
Great to be here, Bart.
Always great to have you here. Well, today we're talking about preparation, not the one that ends in H. Well, if just two words from my time in scouting stuck with me, it's that simple old motto, be prepared. Though I don't know if scouting could have really prepared any of us for the constant uncertainty of 21st century life. I think the pandemic gave us all a real-life lesson in preparing for the unexpected, especially when it comes at you on a global scale. I'm sure not many of us have forgotten those bare grocery store shelves and a roll of Charmin suddenly becoming a very valuable commodity. So it's important.
It sure is. Bible verses address worry. And, of course, we want to be able to distinguish between worry. We'll call it prayerful and careful consideration. Two different things.
Yeah, there's certainly nothing unbiblical about being prepared. Of course, Scripture tells us in many places to prepare our hearts for the Lord and to prepare for his return. That's a big one. But from Noah preparing the ark to Joseph preparing for a coming famine, there are plenty of other kind of more day-to-day examples.
Yeah, absolutely. The Bible offers, as you said, several verses, such as Philippians 4, 6, and 7, which encourages not to be anxious, but give our requests over to the Lord. And, Matthew 6, 34, not to worry about tomorrow and just kind of address what we have today. But, sometimes it may require some additional prayerful consideration to best understand a person's unique set of circumstances, practical ways of putting an end to worry and anxiety, and kind of shifting that over to more prayerful consideration.
That's a good point and an important line to draw. In these days, you remember that TV show Doomsday Preppers that was popular about 10 so years ago, but trying to make a scriptural leap to that level, if you will, it's kind of hard. Is it really possible to biblically justify, building a backyard bomb shelter and stockpiling ammunition and freeze-dried food? Where do you draw the line? It's a little tough.
Well, it is tough, but I think there's some principles. Understanding the difference between worry and careful consideration is probably a good place to start. Worry normally has a stronger emotional component to it that is often we'll call it the primary driver in our activities, normally not restrained and often taps into our imagination. So this is definitely a tool of the enemy, and it usually intensifies our worries instead of actually addressing them. Whereas in contrast, careful and prayerful consideration is an active, mindful activity that utilizes scripture and other healthy ideas to cope with or at least resolve concerns or issues. So that gives us a good groundwork for addressing this.
You're listening to Real Answers. I'm Mark Webster, along with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. We're talking about balancing wise preparation with maintaining our trust in God. I saw one resource that I thought summed this up kind of nicely. It said a Christian's preparation, first of all, shouldn't be selfish.
Right. Going back to what you had just said moments ago, too, like how do you distinguish between the two? And like you just said, one of the things people can do, and we've really gotten away from this, really getting to know our neighbors. And in this use of the term, I'm talking specifically about the people real close to where you live, so that you can understand how can God use you. You might have an older couple or a family with small children that might be struggling. And that way, any supplies or things that you do have saved up, you might be able to reach out to them. And then also knowing as well, if you've got folks real close to you that don't know the Lord, but understanding where they're at, God will open up an opportunity for you within these types of situations, possibly to not only share your faith, but reach out to them through maybe some supplies that you might have saved up too. So it's definitely not a selfish act. I would also say, Mark, to know what resources exist. First of all, if you don't have a good support system, and we've talked about this on this segment, then you really got to address that. Get into that solid Bible-believing church. It's funny, Mark, just last week I gave out the suggestion to a gentleman. He wasn't sure what to do because he doesn't have a church nearby, but he's within about an hour's drive from a larger city area. And I said, well, find a church that is a solid, active in their faith, that has a vibrant ministry in that larger city area. actually make an appointment, go talk to them and ask them if they consider planting a church in your area. It'd be amazing. You'll be amazed at how God can work. And I hope he did that. I'll have to figure out a way to follow up with him. But I mean, that guy might end up being the first member in his new church in his area, or one of the few. Don't put any limitations on God. And last couple tips here, you can have a few weeks worth of supplies on hand. We have this, and I just simply rotate my stock when I need to. And then also foster overall and healthier lifestyle, paying closer attention to your diet, your sleep patterns, exercise, because it might come in handy.
Good advice there. You've been listening to Real Answers, a Wednesday feature of the Family Life Noon Report, where we discuss the issues important to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Thank you again, Chris.
My pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.